Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the podcast. Today we got a good one on our story, the podcast where we dive into different people's lives and try to open up what that might be like. Everyone's going through something different. We all have different struggles, different pasts, and all have different futures. And in order to make us all have a good future, I want to bring us closer together by helping everyone open their mind to struggles that other people are going through and what they do to make them better. So today in the podcast we have a veteran, uh, someone who was in the Air Force for 10 years and now he lives with his family on a what do you call it? Compound, I guess, in Maine. He's completely off the grid. He's trying to see how that works for him. But it's a really good conversation, really interesting, and I think everyone's going to walk away with something good. If you want to support us, like us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, share us. You can donate to the show by going to facebook.com/our story 360, and there's a link to PayPal. You can sign up for a subscription. Even $1 a month helps, or you can just do a one-time donation. Anything helps. Thanks, guys. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, you guys can go to our website, which is www.ourstory.buzzsprout.com, which has all the episodes and links to our social media. Hopefully one day I can get a real boy website, but that's all I got for now. That's why you need to support. So hope you enjoy the motherfucking show. All right. Go ahead. Say say something real quick one more time.
Yeah. How's this sound?
Yeah. Sounds.
Can you hear me
Yeah, we sound good. All right. I think
good?
we're ready to roll. All right.
All right.
How's it been going, man?
Oh, it's going all right. Just winding down the day.
Yeah. Well, so where do you live now? You're in Maine, right?
Yeah, up in Northwest Maine.
Okay. And why don't you tell me a little bit about what you're doing up there?
So we uh, we're on a we got a 50-acre off-grid homestead, built from scratch. Um, Goes back to, let's see, well, we've been on this property for about 2 years. Story kind of goes back a little bit further than that, but used to work in the city in the big high paying tech aerospace defense job, and
Yeah,
couldn't
weren't
live in
you?
the city anymore. So
Yeah.
what's that?
You were in Philly, right?
Yeah, I was in Philly, just outside Philadelphia. Um, and man, I just couldn't live in the city anymore. I didn't want to raise my kids there. Didn't want to live there.
So you
Um,
decided to go
and
like
what I
as
really want.
reverse as you could, all the way out to like a self-sustained house in Maine.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it was. Well,
So,
originally it was kind of like, oh, just kind of need to have like a farm, and
right.
it kind of morphed from
So like, how like off the grid are you? Like,
there.
are you hooked up to the power line?
It was almost no, no. There's no power. We built the house last year in the center of the property. We're half mile from the road. Then there's no. We have not completed the road from the actual main road to the house yet. So
Oh
we're still
wow.
walking
Oh, you don't even drive.
and
You don't
there's
even drive back.
no, you can't get can't get a vehicle back there.
Oh
Not
man.
yet. I mean, we got a Jeep back there in the middle of summer when it was all dry. I got a Jeep Cherokee back there once, but it wasn't something I'd do again.
Well,
No power.
how'd you
Uh,
build the house if you couldn't get your vehicles back there?
I carried every stick of lumber by hand.
Oh
We
my
did
God.
we did borrow we did borrow a four wheeler for I don't know, a couple weeks to help move some sheets of plywood, but that was it. Um,
Yeah, yeah, but
uh,
still,
we
that's a
I haul all my water from the spring. Spring's a couple miles down, you know. So I walk to the main road, get my car, drive a couple miles down the road to there's a spring, and I drive it up, and then I carry it, haul all the water in. Uh, I have a cell phone. That's the closest to the grid I've got, and the cell phone gets charged in the. Uh, we
oh
are
wow. Because you
solar
don't have
powered.
any power in the house. Do
No,
you
none at the moment.
do you
We're working on that.
okay, you do
Solar
plan on
power is going to go. Yeah, yeah. We're
Oh,
putting in some wind and
solar.
micro hydro.
What kind of
Yeah.
solar are you planning on using?
Well, so we got um, right now we have panels. We've got most of what we need. We just really got to get a battery bank. And
Okay, I didn't know if you meant
so,
like any kind of wind or anything like that.
well, yeah. We're doing solar panels, and then we have a brook that runs by the house, and so I'm putting a micro hydro generator in there.
Oh,
That's a little bit more of an engineering project to put in a little bit down in the future, but that will give us more of a constant. It doesn't matter if the sun's shining or not. That
right.
brook's always
The
flowing.
water's always gonna move. Oh, I
Right.
mean, does that generate enough power to like power your house?
Oh yeah. I mean that'll generate more than like in order to get that same amount of electricity as what we'll get from the brook, we would need a quite a large solar array. In
Right,
fact,
right.
we're going to have
Solar panels
excess
are very
electricity that'll
expensive.
have to be dumped. Yeah, yeah. So, um,
Yeah, that's
and
pretty
we
interesting.
we'd sort of thought about doing going off grid, but it wasn't the original intent. But when we looked at the property, we decided where we wanted to put the house and everything, and I made a phone call to the power company to get a quote for how much it was gonna cost to get power run to the house, and that made up my mind for me because it was gonna be a couple hundred grand, something
What?
like that. No,
100
maybe
grand?
maybe it, yeah, it was something like 100 grand or something like that to
Oh my
run the power
goodness.
out here.
Yeah,
So,
so it'd definitely be worth it just to do that.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah. So, I like I said, I'd sort of thought about it, but I mean, that made up my mind for me basically.
Now I've
But
heard
right now,
like oh go ahead, go ahead. Right now you
right now we really are just living without the electricity. Um, we I charge the cell phones basically in the car. We have some portable battery banks that will recharge for things, but I just don't use the electricity, and
how long you've been like that now?
it's
You've been like that for 2 years?
2 years, yeah, and it was kind of an adjustment for a little while, but now it's like honestly, there's only two things I'm really looking forward to getting the electric hooked up for. One is refrigeration, which up here in Maine is only an issue part of the year.
Right, right, right.
And then the second is extra light in the winter because it's so dark. Um,
Oh
and
yeah.
then 2 years basically without power up here,
Right,
um,
2 years.
other than basically recharging things off the phone. I got a generator, but it runs very rarely. Basically, I only run it when I need to run like power tools. Like when I was building a house, I'd use it to run a skill saw or something.
So you built the whole
That's
thing
about
pretty
the
much
only time the generator
yourself?
runs. I built the whole house myself. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't.
Well,
I don't.
the kids, kids, and the wife helped, as well. But yeah,
Wow, that's just like an old western movie or something.
yeah, yeah. It's
That's
kind of
crazy.
interesting, and the whole thing's really a homestead. We're doing green regenerative agriculture, stuff like that here.
Oh, oh, what is?
Kind of. And the funny thing is, like, I'm the furthest thing from a hippie you'll ever meet. but I'm
Right.
into like all those things that are generally sort of like that, like iffy association to them. It's kind of funny.
Would are you like a hunter at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I haven't hunted the last couple of years when I was up here because again, refrigeration. I
Right.
can't
You
run
got to
freezers.
store all that meat. Yeah.
Right. So we're hoping that's one of the big goals this summer is to get the you know at least enough of a system to be able to run our freezers, um, so that we can take some deer and hey, maybe I get lucky and get a moose this year.
Do they have moose in Maine?
Oh yeah,
Really?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
in fact,
I
so,
mean,
so the name of
I mean, I guess it's
the,
pretty much.
the name of our homestead would be is drooling moose is the name of the homestead here. So
Oh, that was your name on your your caller. I was like, why drooling moose? I wasn't surprised because it just seems like something you would do, but it's an
yeah,
interesting name.
it's called Drooling Moose Hideaway. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
something unique. Most of like farms and stuff like that are like Pleasant Acres. Or just
yeah.
some other kind of
They make it
boring
sound like
farm.
so profound.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
So,
Well, yeah, I've heard that some people have had trouble, like they were on the grid, like people getting unhooked from the grid, like they won't let you, things like that, like for people that want to
oh
get
yeah,
off the
I mean
grid.
there can be some issues depending, everything from state to local government issues depending on where you're at. There are some uh, municipalities that basically you were required to be hooked up to the grid like legally to live in that city or town.
Oh yeah, it's crazy what they can tell you to do, like what color your mailbox is.
Oh
They
yeah, no kidding. Well, we're lucky up here. We're in an unincorporated area. Not too much that we have to deal with.
yeah. So you were in the Air Force, right?
Yep. Yeah, I was in the Air Force for 10 years. Um, is that right out of high school? Is spent most of my time stationed in Montana. Um, Worked on Minuteman III ICBMs out there. It's actually when I was living out there is where I met my wife, and actually all three of my kids were born there. So
So Montana's got a special place.
yeah, yeah, we'd actually looked at moving back to Montana when we were kind of looking for land, because it wasn't really a particular place we were looking for. We were just looking for like the right property to do what we wanted to do. And we were looking, Montana, Idaho. My wife's originally from Idaho, and you know, uh, but we just didn't find the property we were looking for when we were searching. The right property, the right price and stuff. We started looking at some other places. Um, I'd been up to Maine before, and it was nice. My wife hadn't, so we took a trip up here for our anniversary, for like a long weekend. Just kind of checked out the area and the state and stuff. She fell in love with it. I fell in love with it, and it was just a few months later that we found property up here, uh, and bought it. So
That's the first property you bought? Or
yeah,
you
this is the first property I've owned.
Oh wow. Yeah, I haven't taken that plunge.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I come from a family of like lifelong renters. My parents, they've never owned a house or anything. And then of course like I was in the military and stuff like that. I either just lived base housing or rented because that just makes sense. The
Yeah,
military, and
so
then
that's kind of like you never had like a home house, like a house that you could come
no,
home to. That'd be
no,
like,
I mean,
oh,
and,
that's
and
where I
not
grew
only
up.
that, yeah, exactly. Well, not even that. We just moved a lot around the country growing up.
Yeah, you lived in Arizona,
Like
right? Weren't you guys in
yeah,
Arizona
that
or
was
something when you were young?
well, yeah. So I mean, I was born in upstate New York, and before I was 2 months old, we moved to Colorado, and then before I was 2 years old, we were in Nevada, and then we were back to New York again when I was four, and then my parents decided that they were going to do this crazy thing, and they sold everything, moved us into a fifth wheel camper. It was my parents and my younger brother and I, and we traveled around the country for like 2 years, living in the camper, which is it was really cool. It was a really cool experience.
Yeah,
Got
did
to
you
see the
like
whole
that?
country. Cool. Oh yeah, yeah, it's cool. It's definitely a neat experience, but you know, just never had that place that was like really home. Which I don't is okay with me. I like new places and stuff like that, but yeah, I did hit a certain point where I was like, I'm ready to buy a piece of ground. I plan on living here the rest of my life. I plan on dying here. I plan on being buried out back. Honestly,
Yeah, so this
like
is
that's
like not just like your a piece of land anymore. It's like you, it's part of you, you
yeah.
know. That's
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
exactly.
that's kind of
Yeah. When
crazy.
when you do the kind of thing that we've done here, I mean, I've done all the work on this place, built the house, and we're not even close to getting be done. I mean, we're not even hardly getting started on everything that we're planning on doing here. And it's like I've already put so much, blood, sweat, and tears into the ground here that it's already just like this is more home than anywhere could ever be.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I think a lot of people, always think about doing that, going off and starting their own thing, but it takes a lot of balls to actually go ahead and do it, Like
Well,
that's
yeah,
you
so
putting everything out.
oh
You
yeah,
know?
we put absolutely everything. We sold. Actually, we didn't even have the property yet when we moved out of our house. We sold everything and moved into an old 1988, a 34-foot 1988 pull behind camper. Um, because we knew we were going to buy a piece of property. We were going to move on to it with the camper and build a house. And so, but we didn't even have a property yet when I had this old camper. I fixed it up, kind of renovated it, and we moved into that. And we were in it for uh, almost a year um, before we actually bought this property.
So
And
you
then
just
I think
had
we
enough
bought it in the
and you
fall.
were just ready to get out of the
Well, yeah,
city?
it was part of it. Yeah, part of it was just it was taking that step and getting out. Part of it was also saving the money for it too. We knew that we basically said, well, we're gonna get into the camper, um, anyway, and we can live cheaper in that than you know paying the rent on the house in
Oh yeah,
Philly.
no, rent free,
Um,
definitely.
well, it wasn't quite rent free. I mean, we had to pay a rent on basically a spot to park in,
Oh,
right?
right,
But
right,
it was
right.
still like the rent in Philly was like $1,700 a month, and I went down to
Oh my
renting a
God,
spot to park the trailer for like
jeez.
500 bucks a month. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
uh,
That
but
feels
no,
like
actually,
that
so
feels
we
like
moved.
free at that point.
Yeah. We moved into the camper in May, and then we bought the property in November, and then moved up here the following May. So it was a year. We were in the camper for a year before we moved on to the property, and then we were in it on the property for a year before we started building the house. We built the house last year.
That's cool. So, how big is the house? Is it a decent
Well,
sized house?
the, yeah, it's the house isn't actually completed. So we had the first part of the house built. Right, we're up in Maine. The season to be able to build is not very long. We got long winters, short summers, and I'm building it myself. I work a full time job. Well, more than I mean, I work 60 hours a week at my job. So I
Yeah,
was building this at night after work, and then on my weekend. Um,
that's a rough. That's a rough time right there.
right. Yeah. So I mean, come home and sometimes work past midnight, and then be up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work again. Um, but I mean, family is really what got me through. So we built this one part. It's 32 by 24, so 24 by 32, and then we're building another section that's actually larger onto this. But this was just to get out of the camper
Yeah.
and have a house, four walls,
Right.
a roof, well insulated, and heat and stuff like that. And then we're starting this summer, probably not as intensely because we have other projects going on here at the same time, but starting to build out the second part of the house.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
we're
Right.
building. Yeah, yeah, we're
That's
building on bedrooms and a big master suite and everything off of
uh-huh.
what we've already built. So
So what do you have right now? You have what? Two bedrooms,
it's
kitchen.
actually just a big open room. It's one room because this part of the house is going to be like an open living room kitchen kind of
Okay.
deal, all one kind of open concept thing, and then we're building the bedrooms off of this in the other wing that we're building. So right now it's just one big open room, and we've got like temporary little, you know, divider walls and whatnot kind of put up.
Nice.
Um,
It's like a big log
yeah,
cabin.
yeah. It's your one room cabin is basically, you know,
Nice.
what it is. So
So tell me about your YouTube channel. What do you do on there?
so we actually my wife, before we started this, well, like right when we were starting this whole journey thing that we were doing, um, had started a Facebook group, and it was really just kind of like for family and friends and stuff to kind of follow along with what we were doing. But it took off and snowballed from there. We started with we started when we were renovating the RV, renovating the camper, and next thing we know, we've got like, you know 2,000 people on there and stuff like that. So we started putting up YouTube videos and started a YouTube channel. And there's not a lot up there right now. The issue is we have no high speed internet here. We're on cellular data, so trying to upload. But it's something we're working on trying to get more of those up. But we've got a large Facebook group thing and
So it's
YouTube channel.
home renovating? All home renovating stuff.
Well, no, it's all the homestead.
Oh,
Everything we're
homestead.
doing here on the homestead.
Homestead. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's you kind of following the journey along.
Uh,
We're mostly on Facebook, um,
right. Are there
but
other people,
yeah,
like other homestead people, YouTubers or groups like that?
oh yeah, yeah. I'm part of some other communities of other people doing similar things. Um,
Wow.
Most of them aren't quite as crazy as we are, going completely like you know
Yeah.
off the grid. But
What if they
oh
have like
yeah,
a
there's
Tinder for homestead people?
yeah, yeah, like farmersonly.com.
Right. Right. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that's funny. Uh, yeah, I was
yeah,
you're real close to Canada, so I was like, hmm. I was wondering what was going on in Canada, so I was like looking on the CNN, and there's like no news for Canada. There's like nothing going on. They were like, their top story was like, this river is rising, and that was it. River expected to
no
rise this
worries.
weekend. Okay, Canada.
Like,
That was like all they had to talk about.
like when I was in the Air Force, I um, we had some Canadian Air Force guys that were doing some training on the base we were at. We were sharing a chow hall, and we were talking to them, and they're like, our Air Force is made up of like a handful of like fighter jets that the U.S. basically they were their old hand-me-downs.
No way.
Oh yeah, yeah. They basically like have our hand-me-downs and stuff. We're like, well, we have a new, better one now.
Dude,
So
that's what Canada
yeah,
is because they do everything that England does. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
they like love England. They do everything that they do. Like they all wear those puffy, like hair hats things in court, right? They do the same shit.
yeah,
Their Mounties dress like ridiculous. And then
yeah,
they're like American too. So like and then they're part French. It's like they're just taking all the shit, from other people and making it theirs. It's weird. Hey.
yeah. the only thing that's like really just uniquely Canadian is like there's crazy apologetics story,
Ooh,
you
ooh,
know.
sorry.
Yeah, and the fact that they can't eat real bacon, I don't know what's up with their
Right.
Canadian bacon.
Oh, I'm so excited though. I listened to this one podcast that's Canadian. It's called Gramerica, and I'm going to Colorado in like 20 days, 23 days, and I'm gonna meet up with this podcast group. There's a whole bunch of us. There's a whole bunch of them going up, and we're gonna meet there and have
Cool,
this
man.
talk. Yeah, it's gonna be really cool. So I'm gonna do podcasting while I'm out there.
We're at in Canada.
They're from uh uh what is it called? Calgary,
Oh,
Calgary,
okay. All
Alberta,
right, cool.
Alberta.
Yeah, 'cause I was gonna say I only live like I don't know,
No, yeah,
100
this is the
miles
other
from
side.
100 miles from that city. Yeah,
From where?
I'm like 100 miles from Quebec City.
Yeah, you're higher than certain parts of Canada, I'm sure, right?
Yeah,
Like you're higher north than probably some
yeah,
parts of
we're
Canada.
actually we're actually a little bit further north than the what's it, the 46 parallel or whatever, that's the main border between the U.S. and Canada. We're a little north of there here at our place,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
These guys, they're like 3 hours, behind us in time zone, so on the other side.
right, yeah.
But there's this like scientist guy. You ever heard of Randall Carlson?
You know the name's familiar, but I couldn't place
He's like
who he is.
he's
You
a
know.
paleontologist, historian guy, and science enthusiast. But he's gonna be out there doing these lectures, so I'm hoping to get him on the podcast because that would be really cool.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, because he's
Yeah, that'd be great.
semi-famous. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy though. This this life, man. It's interesting. So you want to hear a really bizarre story that happened to me yesterday?
yeah, definitely.
All right. So I drive around different parts of the state for work, company vehicle, and I had to. I was driving. I was in between customers, and I had to stop by Tractor Supply, the Tractor Supply store, to pick up some dog food. So I swung in there, and I saw they have the chick days where they sell like the baby chicks and stuff. And I've been looking at kind of was kind of planning to get some ducks this year for the homestead. And I went in there and I had noticed they had a clearance on all the little ducklings, right? Because they start growing and stuff like that, and they have to sell them off. They can't just keep them on the shelf or something. You know what I mean? And
Right, right.
so
The
the
living
normal price
animals.
was like seven. Yeah, normal price was like $7, and they were selling them all for $1. And
You can't beat
I
that.
said I'll buy. Yeah, so I was like, I'll buy all of them that you have, and they had like 18 of them. And then I'm like, and I looked and I was like, man, I saved like 70 some dollars,
Yeah.
like total. And so I was driving by later that day. I was driving by another Tractor Supply, so I figured I'd stop in there. And so I did the same thing. I was like, I'll buy all of them that you had.
They
And
were a
they had
dollar.
like, yeah, they had, yeah, for $1 each, they had like 44 of them. So I
What?
ended up, yeah, so I ended up driving home. I've got 62 ducklings in there. They got these little paper cardboard carton things that they put them in, right? And I've got like 6 of these cartons sitting on my passenger seat driving home with these baby ducklings. And I'm driving, and I'm about like 45 minutes away from home, and the town nearby us. I'm driving like through. They got a little downtown Main Street, kind of area. It's typical like kind of small town little Main Street thing. And all of a sudden, from one of I hear the ducklings just making a whole bunch of noise, just squeaking and squawking or whatever. Thinking, oh, I wonder if everything's okay. And I'm driving, reach over and I just kind of picked up the one carton where I heard him kind of squeaking from, and I picked it up and sort of swung it over toward my lap because I was going to just kind of peek in there and check on him, and the whole bottom of it came open, and so I have ducklings, live baby ducklings, tumbling all over inside my van. I have ducklings on my lap. They tumbled down on the floor. They went between the seats. So 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 I pull off, like I'm right on Main Street. I pull off in like the on street parking there, and I'm sitting there. I'm reaching down and trying to find all these ducklings and get them picked up and put back in the box. And well, in the box that were around me, and I hear ducklings, you know, cheeping or whatever from the other side of the passenger seat, like between the passenger seat and the door. So I get out, I walk around, open the passenger door. Sure enough, there's like four more ducklings there that somehow found their way over in between the seat and the door. So I'm like trying to grab them. Well, one of them jumps down out of the van onto the ground and takes off down Main Street. Like this duckling
you
just
don't chase it, do you?
running for its life down the road. That's all. I'm out there. I was 10 minutes. I'm chasing a duckling. A grown man chasing a duckling
That's
down
cute.
Main.
That's so cute.
He's just waddling as fast as he can, little wings flapping or whatever, you know. And then he finally found there's a big water puddle that had rained earlier that day. There's a big puddle, right? And their instinct, they're little babies, but they instinctively know that for a duck, water is safety, you know.
Right.
So he's trying to get away from me.
Right.
So he sees this puddle, runs into the puddle, and just like stops in the middle of it and kind of pulls up his feet, like the little duck float, like, oh, I'm safe here. And so
I'm just chilling in the middle of this puddle.
yeah. Just like,
That's funny.
I'm in water now, so I'm cool. You can't get me. But you ever been driving like 15 ducklings just all over inside of a vehicle?
That's so funny. He just like running away and then finds this 1 foot puddle and just like, yeah, I'm good now.
Yeah, so I've got 62 ducklings inside my house right now and a brooder.
They're in their house now. They still got to do some growing before you can throw them outside.
Oh yeah. They're little. They're gonna be there for a few weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because
my
we did that one time, raised ducks when I was young, and it's kind of cool. You get to see them grow, and then they start to get those brown feathers, and they start flying a little bit, and then you just got to throw them outside.
Yeah.
You know what's weird about
Yep.
chickens is I learned this from watching the Joe Rogan show. Is like chickens eat mice and shit and stuff. You know, they'll eat
Yeah.
mice.
Our chickens eat snakes here.
What?
Well, yeah. So the first year we were on the property, we found out that we have the garter snakes, but like big garter snakes though, like big for a garter snake everywhere.
Yeah.
We're in the forest, stuff like that, and it was just like in the spring is just infested with them.
So you know they're a
couldn't
gardener,
walk.
right? If they have the white stripe down the middle of their back, right?
Yeah, these are like white or yellow stripe down their back or whatever.
Dude, I saw one
Snakes
yesterday, and he was like, he had to be almost 2 feet, and he was big
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
gardener
Like,
snake. I was like,
yeah,
what? I'd never seen one that big.
yeah. These are like how big we had them up here, and you could hardly walk without like stepping on one. They were
Oh my
everywhere.
God. You're like,
Well,
you have to
when
take
we
a second look. You're like, are you sure you're a gardener snake? Like,
got, so we got our chickens, and the chickens just tore those snakes up. Right? They don't like snakes because snakes come
wait,
in and
you
steal
already
their eggs.
you already have chickens?
We got chickens. After we'd been on the property for a few months or whatever, we got chickens, and the next year, no snakes.
Oh
So
wow, they just
they
ate them all. That's crazy.
decimated them.
Well,
Yeah.
like people think it's so weird, but I mean, chickens are birds, just like an eagle's a bird. You know, they're the same thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I mean they're omnivores. Most people just think about chickens, walking around picking up corn kernels or whatever. But yeah, they eat mice and
Yeah, I mean,
snakes and
Yeah, I
They'll
mean,
eat other chickens too. Chickens are cannibalistic.
really? Oh my God, that's gross.
Yeah,
Well, it's kind
yeah,
of
chickens.
messed up. That's why I think factory farming is so gross. Is because a lot of times when something dies, they'll just feed it right back to them, like cows. They'll feed them dead cows, stuff
Well,
like
yeah,
that.
there's
It's so
the
gross.
factory farming and stuff like that. And that's kind of what we're doing here is trying to push back against all the massive factory farming
I know,
with
like
food that's just
you didn't.
our food. Most people just don't even understand. One, a lot of people just don't understand what goes into making their food and producing their food.
Oh well, with how
Um,
many? The thing is, with how many people there are, we kind of don't have any option.
well, the that's the thing though, right? And that's what we're um, part of what I'm doing here. So we're like part homestead, but also sort of part laboratory in a way of experimenting with different things too. Because there's the argument of like that's what we have to do to feed everybody, and I would argue you're right that that's what we have to do to feed everybody right now because we are in this horrible situation where farmers in America have to feed more people next year. They have to produce like each individual farmer has to produce more food this year than they ever had over the last like 200 years combined. Because you more and more people, less and less farmers.
Well, you know
Um,
that there's like 4 billion cows in the world, so there's like it, and like they're cutting down the rainforest mainly to grow cattle, and the amount of water it takes to raise one cow from being a baby to you can slaughter it, the amount of water you use to give that, you could I heard something like you can grow enough crops to end world hunger. You know what I mean?
well,
Like
that's
there's an
not
unridiculous
quite true, but
but
that's
like
so
the beef industry
basically,
is a little out of control. It's just
well,
but
uh, big ag in general. So what they're doing is, if you think about it like this, if really what it all comes down to is soil for the most part. What it all comes down to is soil, and well, really the nutrients in the soil, and um, we're taking and taking and taking out of the soil, but not putting back. And that's what we're doing, and that's why we're using all these chemicals. That's why the mass intensive grazing. That's why like all these horrible practices are because for decades and decades we had this mass farming where they were basically robbing the soil and not putting anything back. So think about it like this: like a lot of communities, cities, people are big into recycling, right? And they're recycling their aluminum cans and recycling their plastics and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. But what are they doing with their food scraps from their kitchen? What do you do with them?
throw them away.
They go into your garbage. They go into the garbage, which goes to the landfill where they get thrown in with all the other toxic
Yeah, don't
gross.
they say like a quarter of all food is wasted or a third or something like that?
Well, it
Something like a
wouldn't surprise
quarter
me, but
or
even
a
even
third of all food is thrown away. It's messed
right.
up.
Well, and the thing is, so even the non-edible portion, the stuff that's not necessarily waste as much as trimmings and stuff like that, all that extra excess food that's getting thrown in the garbage, that's not going back into the soils. So every time you grow
Right,
food, whether you're
right.
growing a cow or you're growing a soybean or you're whatever it is, you are stealing from the soil, right? You're pulling nutrients out. But what we're not doing is recycling those nutrients back.
Back into the soil. That's
Uh,
like what you're supposed to do. Right.
right, right, and
That's
and and
how
that's uh,
it's set up.
one of the long term things we're looking at setting up here, and I hope it's something we can get to be a bit of a prototype or a test bed to do in other places. At least here, start with the local community is doing a community sort of food recycle program where basically, and what we're going to do is to we'll sell our eggs and meat and vegetables and stuff like that we sell, right? But my farm and you wanted to buy 2 dozen eggs, okay? And like I said, this is a concept that we're kind of working out. We're not there yet
Right,
to
right,
even come
right,
close to implementing, but right. But it would be something like if you show up with a 5 gallon bucket full of food scraps or yard waste. That's another big one is yard waste. Look, all the leaves people rake up off their lawns and grass clippings and stuff like that, right? Then you get a certain percentage off of the food that you buy because
right.
you're giving us that to back that we're going to compost it, we're going to feed it to our animals,
And it's kind
whatever.
of like encouraging people to just do that, to
Right,
think about it that way.
right. Try to set up some programs with local restaurants and grocery stores
Right. I think people need to be
to
more aware of like what they do, like
Well,
I
but
feel
that's
like
that's the thing. Most people aren't even aware of that, right? They think
right.
about recycling their plastics or their aluminum cans or whatever, but think nothing about dumping their food scraps into the garbage or raking up their leaves in their yard and throwing them on the curb to go to the landfill.
I think like
And that's
in a
all nutrients that are
perfect
taken out
world,
of the environment.
yeah, that's true. In like a perfect situation, nothing would just get thrown away. Like nothing needs to get thrown away. Everything can be recycled in some way or another, you know?
Right. And honestly, it's one of those things. There's arguments to be made about recycling certain materials where the actual processes that we have in place, at least at the moment, for recycling are really not any less harmful than producing them in the first place. But when it comes to organic matter, you have to do to recycle organic matter? Throw it in a pile and wait.
Yeah.
It'll compost.
Yeah.
Really, really, at the most basic level.
Right.
Um, you know, so
Well, I
yeah,
heard
we're trying to encourage.
yeah. Go ahead. You there?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I heard this NPR podcast one time where they were talking about how they had made there's like a process you can do with human like feces to make it usable for crops. It's like this process where you have to take out nitrates or whatever. But they started doing it around the world, around like in New York City, and they would send it out, and like this stuff worked really well. They said, but just the process of doing it was more expensive than just throwing it away. So now they
Right.
like use up all this land to throw it away. So that's kind of
Yeah.
like I get it, like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
everything like with science and whatnot, like we could be so much further if it didn't have to, cost money.
right, but I mean, even when it comes down to the what I would call like I don't know, organic recycling or bio recycling, right? We're talking about biomass, organic matter. Um, it's one of the cheapest things that we can do as far as recycling, and one of the most beneficial that if it was done at a community level, spread out worldwide. And I'm a big I'm not for government regulation of these. I think the government
Of what?
couldn't
Recycling?
run well anything really when it comes down to like trying to put down a program. Like if they were going to like mandate all this stuff, it would become inefficient. It would become wasteful. They couldn't run a lemonade stand efficiently. What it needs to be is communities.
Right. Everything
Um,
should probably be on the local level because it's hard for like
right,
Obama or not Obama, like Trump to tell like where I live the best way we should run our community because he has never been here. He doesn't know anything about this area. You need someone who lives
right.
in
Well,
this area that knows the
right,
people and they can make that decision. That's why I don't know. I'm not in favor of big government. If it comes down to anything, it should be like local, you know, maybe not even like you said, when you force people to do it, instead of just
right.
volunteer based.
I mean, really, really, and that's what we're trying to do here is trying to sort of make a model that can be taken up by other farms, other homesteads, that kind of thing, to get their communities involved in basically giving back to the land. You can't just sit there and steal nutrients out of the soil and expect to keep having that soil produce. And that's why we ended up with the Dust Bowl. And as a result, started using chemical fertilizers and all this stuff that we now know is just horrible and nasty for you.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like
we
we didn't
wonder.
even
I
learn
mean,
our
all the
lesson
all
from
the
that.
you know, yeah. I mean, the cancer rates, um, you know, autism rates, people that are now, everybody with tons of allergies. I mean,
Everyone's
all this stuff can be
very
traced
unhealthy.
back to when we started using all these chemicals on our food. You know,
Oh yeah, just the process of making food like with white bread, how they do it to like make so much, like the yield they get is ridiculous, but the consequences to getting that yield, you know what I mean? Like the
well,
gluten
and,
thing
and it
and
is tough because um, low income people is that's one of the issues, right? Is the organically, you'll buy, I don't know if you've priced grass fed beef recently. The prices are insane. Um, Stuff like that. But here's where we help fix that too, right? Instead of creating a society, instead of continuing the society of consumers when it comes to food, we need to be teaching people how to grow their own food, or at least part of it, right? So I hear all the time, well, I can't afford fresh vegetables at the store. Do you know how easy and cheap and inexpensive it is to grow some vegetables for yourself? Oh, but I live in an apartment. Oh, really? Here's 5,000 YouTube videos on how to grow vegetables in your balcony in your apartment. You know, um, but I mean, this is the way where it's changed. Say like pre World War II, just about every home had some sort of small vegetable garden in the back, and usually a small flock of chickens at a minimum, even in the suburbs. You know, and that's where we start. People can start eating a little bit more healthy, even if they don't have much money at all or don't have much access to land. Um, there's an incredible book called The Square Foot Gardener that addresses this, and some others. But that's how we fix the hunger issue and everything like that. Is more people just growing your own food and learning about your food and being responsible for the food that you put in your body.
oh yeah, that's like fast food, like restaurant food is so bad for you in that respect, you know.
I mean, even the produce you get at your local grocery store. Go to your local grocery store, get your hand and go through the produce department. That stuff's been sprayed with pesticides, sprayed with herbicides, and then been chemically ripened. Um, and that's how you can get tomatoes in the middle of January, right? It's because they're grown in Southern California, picked before they're ripe, ripened, right? They ship them across the country and then use chemicals to ripen them quickly.
Jesus. Yeah, I've heard that, you know, like most food you see like it's not really a tomato. It's like the idea of a tomato, you know? Like
Yeah, and this is where we help change people's minds too. Is with our gardens, our eggs, our meat, and stuff like that. Is let people try it. And it's people. Oh, I don't like. People. I don't like tomatoes. Well, have you ever had a fresh tomato out of the garden, actually grown without any chemicals or miracle grow or anything like that, non-GMO seed? No. Try this, and they're like, that is the most fantastic thing I've ever eaten. You know, um, stuff like that. I mean,
there
if
is
if you
definitely a distinct taste. Like the tomatoes you get at Walmart, it's like they're just water. Like there's no flavor in them, you know? It's like they
right,
took the
yeah.
flavor out somehow.
Well, and the interesting thing is, so most people don't realize that the company that makes Roundup, which is one of which is the most widely used herbicides in the world, let alone the country, is the same company that made Agent Orange.
No way.
Um, oh yeah, yep, the same company that makes Roundup made Agent Orange.
Huh. That's kind of crazy.
It's like the parent company of Bayer Aspirin made. I don't. It's escaping me the actual name of the chemical, but the gas that the Nazis used in the gas chambers for the extermination during the Holocaust,
Wait, what
made
about
by
was made by what?
made by Bayer, the aspirin company.
Huh.
They changed their name after that, but it's the same company.
They made a chemical for the Nazis to kill Jews.
Yes,
Now that same company that made the decision to kill Jews is selling aspirin to old people.
right, or at least the same
Wow.
company that was willing to make the chemical and supply it to the Nazis. Yeah,
Yes. That's
yeah,
insane.
it's crazy, but yeah, these are the same companies that are making the stuff that they're saying, trust me, it's safe to spray on your food. By the way, actually, Monsanto just had to settle a massive lawsuit, and now officially had to admit that indeed Roundup does cause cancer, which
So
is
you
something most people have known for decades. But
wanna know something
now
crazy? It just
legally, they have now lost the lawsuit on it.
wow. Wow. So it's like it's official now.
Yeah, but they're still spraying tons of gallons of it on the food that you eat every day.
So want to know something crazy
So,
that
but
just
this is
happened right now? I
huh?
when you were talking, I was like listening, but I ran into the kitchen and grabbed a drink, and I came back, and my brother was here earlier, and he put a tank that had a gecko in it in the for some reason he put it in the hallway and on the floor, and so as I was running back, I kicked it and broke the glass. Like my foot went through the glass and cut my foot
Oh no, that's
just a little
crazy.
bit. But yeah, it just smashed the shit out of it. So there's a gecko running around my house somewhere now.
Oh crap!
Yeah, I didn't want it anyways. I told him to get rid of it. I was like, I don't want this thing in my house. Get it out. And he puts it right there, and so I end up smashing it with my foot. Oh my god, I hit it hard too. To smash the tank?
Oh jeez.
Imagine how hard you have to.
How did you
I don't have any
how
shoes
did you
on
break a
either.
glass? How did you? Okay, so you broke a glass tank with bare feet.
Yeah,
What part of you was broken or bleeding?
just the side of my foot. Just a little teeny tiny cut. But yeah, that's why you don't punch through glass. You know, you'll get cut.
Yeah, no
That's why in the
kidding.
movies they
So
always put like a jacket on or something before they do it around their arm. But yeah, it's cool. Then I'm going into shock now. No, I'm kidding. No, it's not that bad.
light,
But
don't go toward the light. The darkness is closing in. Yeah.
oh, dude, I had a tooth pulled the other day, and I
Mm.
after they pulled it, I almost passed out. I was sweating head to toe like I was about to die. Like my heart was pounding. I was like, I can't get up. I can't leave. I had to sit there for like 5 minutes and calm down after they pulled the tooth.
You get me there, and you start talking about that. I've had I was in a car accident when I was like 7, and like broke a whole bunch of teeth and everything like that. And like ever since then, I've had like a massive amount of dental work done, and so man, I cringe every time. Ugh.
Wait, so do you have some fake teeth in there, or they all real?
I got I got a bunch of caps, um, and we had root canals, a bunch of chips and cracks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I hate
just
the dentist.
you
I
know,
hate
I
the
you know,
dentist
I
so
mean,
much.
don't know what the age demographic of your audience is going to be, but once upon a time, not all cars had airbags, and they made dashboards out of metal and wood.
That's smart.
And so when you hit them with your face in a car accident, it kind of can mess you up.
Well, didn't the seatbelt hold you back? No.
I was like 7 years old. I was a younger kid, right? I was sitting in the front seat, and the seatbelt didn't adjust up and down like a lot of them do now, so it catch you like up on the neck, you know. So it was uncomfortable. So I put the
Oh, you put it
the
behind you.
shoulder belt behind me, and so well, I just like whole just face planted into the dashboard.
Yep. I never did that because I felt like it was uncomfortable. But I knew a lot of kids that did
Yeah.
that. That did that. That's yeah, that'll get you. Dang. Face plant right in the dashboard.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
I've only been
I
in one
broke
car
a bunch of my
accident.
front teeth and stuff. Yeah.
I hit
I've
this.
I've had so much dental work that like I'm basically like immune to like Novocaine now. I went into this last time I had to go into the dentist and they had to do a filling, and they hit me with the Novocaine or whatever it is they use, that local anesthetic, and they're like, oh, we'll give it like 15 minutes, let it kick in, and then we'll get started. So I give it like 15 minutes. He gets started. 5 minutes after he starts, I'm about screaming, and he's like, "Oh, okay, well we'll give you some more." He gave me some more, and it was just like same thing. It lasted like 2 minutes, and then I could feel everything again. This stuff
Oh
just
man.
doesn't work on me. I've like built up a tolerance to it.
Oh jeez. Yeah, I kind of feel like that stuff does because last time when I went in this time, it didn't seem to have as much of effect, but obviously not to the level you had it. That's insane. Stupid freaking gecko.
Oh, jeez. So how you gonna catch a gecko?
Uh, it's living here forever. It's my new roommate.
You'll find them under the couch in a couple months when you're cleaning out, right?
Yeah, James will probably find him. Yeah, my kid will probably find him. Yeah. Yeah. I just hope he's not as bad as my last roommate. It was a mouse. Shit on all my spoons. Ate the quarters of all my Doritos.
Just the corners.
Yeah, I didn't eat the whole thing. Chewed right through the bag. All right, so hey, why don't you go ahead and get into like how you grew up, like like you already did touch on it a little bit. So like, how did like um you already touched on like you moved around a little bit, your parents, but how did that like affect like your life choices? Do you think? And what were
Well,
your life choices? You obviously went into the Air
yeah,
Force.
yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, I joined the military, which is something I'd wanted to do for I don't know, probably since I was a kid. I wanted to be in the Air Force.
That was all
I
your choice?
remember,
You've always wanted to?
yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned we lived in Nevada for a while. We lived in Henderson, Nevada, just outside Las Vegas, which is near Nellis Air Force Base. I was a little kid, and Desert Storm just ended, and at the end, so there was a big kind of ceremony type deal when troops came back from Desert Storm. We were right by Nellis Air Force Base, and so I remember seeing Desert Storm was the first time, like kind of the public and everybody saw like the F-117, the stealth bombers, and so I remember watching the formations, stealth bombers flying in formation, and like F-16s and everything all flying in, and it was like ever since then, man. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to go in the Air Force. I wanted to fly, um, if not as a pilot, as some part of the flight crew or something. And so, of course, when it came around that I decided I was going to go ahead and enlist, I told the recruiter I wanted to fly, and they gave me a job working underground.
The polar
Um,
opposite. Wow.
right. But it was still good. But I talk about like the moving around, how we moved a lot, and then we did our kind of like a whole trip around the country, and so it was really cool. I've seen some really cool things, experienced things, um, through all that, and how like I see one of the things I see a lot is people saying like, oh, I see people, they're stuck in a crappy situation in their life, whatever it is. Maybe they're just like living in a physical place they don't like. They're in a job that they don't like. Maybe they're in a in a place, there's like bad history there, but they're like stuck there. And the reason they're stuck there is because like, yeah, I've talked to people. I'm like, when they're in this situation, I'm like, why don't you just move? Like you could move there and you could get a job, or you could get away from this place or whatever it is. And the excuse I get a lot is, well, family here. This is where I've always lived. Um, I never got that because I've always moved around. Like moving to another place was never a big deal for me. In some ways, maybe that's helped me out because I've been able to easily take advantage of certain opportunities. And in some ways, like you were saying earlier, I haven't had that one place that's like, this is my home. You know, uh, I'm kind of building that now later in life, in a way that's kind of neat. So like I've seen the country, I've seen all the different places, all the different towns and stuff like that. So I know what I like and don't like, right? So now I can be like, this is a place that I like and I want to be and wouldn't mind living here forever.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's cool. And you think that's because of some of your experiences, like just the that's kind of cool. You were able to, kind of just flip everything around. You always moved around, and now you're polar opposite, landowner,
Yeah,
building your own place, putting down
yeah,
roots.
and yeah, putting down roots and doing something kind of radically different.
How is that?
Which,
Is
well,
that
it's
how's
it's
the
kind of
feeling
funny.
like taking? Is it like scary or is it kind of like thrilling?
You know, again, I think some of that, like moving around and being used to the change, stuff like that, has helped me a lot. And also, is spending 10 years in the military. You're just one of the big things that I learned is in the military is not to be afraid of failure, and not because I don't believe that failure won't happen, because I know failure will happen, but that so if you talk about like in the military, you have a mission. Um, just about any mission can fail, or something can fail in it. It's just a reality, but the mission still continues. Right? You still keep going on. You still there's still an objective that has to be met, and it's kind of how we've looked at that. So we've had some good times here in Homestead. We've had a few setbacks,
Well,
and it's really not easy living this way.
right. Yeah. But if it's your dream, if it's something you really want, you have to do it, no matter how hard it is. Um, like,
Yeah,
uh, like, I was really unhappy the way I was living because it's just a lot of people that mundane, just doing the same thing all the time. And some people can't move because they have kids, you know, and
yeah.
a lot of people these days don't marry people that have kids too. So they kind of have to convince that person to move too. So that can be
Well,
hard.
it's really interesting. I was actually recently reading an article, um, and the article wasn't really giving an answer. I think they didn't really have an answer. They had some guesses or some hypotheses, but not some answers. But what they were saying is that right now, today, it is the easiest that it has ever been to travel anywhere. Okay, you have the most possibility to be mobile, to travel, to move.
Oh
to pick up
yeah.
and move from one side of the country to the other in like a day, right? Easiest it's ever been. However, right now today, and it's particularly this newest generation are the least mobile that they've ever been in American history. People are moving less than they ever have, and they were, why is that? There might be a few reasons. There's reasons for it. I don't know what those reasons are. Um, some of them I would guess is I think that some of the young people we have right now that are just not prepared to face the real world, and they're still stuck needing the support of mommy and daddy. I'm not saying that's all of it, but I think that is, from what I've seen, a good part of it. And that was
Well, I
part
feel
of.
like a lot of people, life just catches them before they know what's going on. Like, they just like they get out of high school and like their parents maybe aren't super involved, so they're like, okay, I'm not going to college because nobody's here to like encourage me, or I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just gonna work. And then they work, and then they get a girlfriend. The girlfriend gets pregnant, so they have kids, and then they get married, and blah blah blah. And then they're like, hey, I really don't want to stay here. I don't want to do this. I know what I want to do, but it's too late. They
Well,
know I
and
want
I
to
think I
be
think
there, but it's too late because they're already in this situation that's too hard to get out of.
right, and that's where as parents, um, we have to prepare our kids in advance to be able to make good decisions, be able to make choices that are going to get them what they want in advance, so that you know our job as parents is to prepare our kids to go forth and conquer basically. Um, and we've got a generation or two. The boomers are like the worst generation ever. Like the boomers
Yeah,
screwed up bad, mainly with the way they raise their kids, and it's trickled down with young people coming of age that are not even close to being prepared to operate in the real world. Um, they're told that everything, that they're too sheltered, they're kept safe, and they have parents that aren't connected. They ship them off to their government schools every day because it's an effective babysitter, and you know, um, at the end, these young people, college kids, just coming out of high school, they're not ready, and it's because if a parent does their job right, yeah, are they going to do everything 100%? When you're 17, 18, 19, 20, until you're 25, almost 30, your brain is still just like you have a skull full of oatmeal, right? And you're going to do some stupid things, but if you've been raised right, you can deal with those things at least a little bit better.
well, yeah, people just I feel like they don't encourage their kids to think for themselves. They need to
Right.
like
That's either they're not encouraged to think for themselves, and they're too sheltered, and they're too parents trying to keep their kids in the parent plan for their life, or it's the opposite where they're just you have kids whose parents are just checked out, they're not there, they don't care, you know what I mean, and they're not prepared. um, some of us get lucky and kind of wake up at some point, some of us earlier rather than later. you know, and I think you see that with particularly people my age. So I'm 32, so I would be, I guess, technically a millennial, but I'm like
you're like
an old
barely a
millennial, right?
millennial.
What's that?
So you'd be barely a millennial. Like you were right at the cutoff,
Yeah, like
probably.
barely. Like it's one of those. It depends on who you ask, right? And
Yeah.
but it's the people that are around my age. I see more and more of them that are figuring out, and I think the millennials are going to get there, and I think the millennials have a lot going. They really do, if they can basically if they can remove their head from their fourth point of contact, you know, they've got a lot of potential. But I think a lot of them are coming to the table a little too late.
Well, I
Um,
think society in general is moving in a good direction. You know, it's not the easiest, nicest way to get there, but like it's getting better. Like, there's never been more a better time to like be yourself than now. We're more accepting of everyone. You know, it's more
yeah,
fair.
it's
It's getting better.
yeah.
It's not
I mean,
perfect, but it's better than everything today is better than it was 50 years ago. It's better than it was 50 years before that. You know what I mean? Everything's getting better. Just
right. Well, it's one of if you turn on the news, I mean, you'd think we were living in the end times.
oh
Everything's
yeah,
horrible. Everything's outrageous. Right? But really look at it. Right. Look at all the things that we're fighting about right now, society. Um, how lucky are we that these are the things we're fighting
yeah, exactly.
about?
What's that called?
Right. 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 Things 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 are really good when we're arguing about which bathroom to use.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, when that's
Like,
your biggest complaint.
like whether someone calls you, he or she or him or her Zer or freaking
Yeah,
supreme
and
dictator for life. I mean, whatever. Uh, things are pretty good when we're not worried about
oh
red
yeah,
flags.
like I just think about it like it's I can't remember what it's called, but when you have something good for too long, you kind of forget how good it is. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
so like look at us right
Well,
now. Like I'm in a home that's heated, and I'm not worried about people busting through my door and shooting me like some people are in the world, you know?
right.
People are
Well,
fearing
this,
for their
here,
lives in certain parts of the world. And if I want to, I can go eat ice cream right now, and a lot of people can't go do that. So like,
right,
we
right.
have
But
it good.
yeah,
Yeah, if I want to get a
well, it's
shower, I
given me
can
a
go get
really,
one. Like the little things, you
yeah.
got to realize how
Well,
great they are.
it's given me a real appreciation for how good things are. Going back to because so basically what we're doing
Oh,
here
for
is
you, yeah.
uh,
No electric?
we,
Like,
we went back to living like it's 1800. In a way, right? I guess all the smartphone and the car and stuff,
oh
but
yeah.
but
Yep.
it and I see the things that people complain about, and you're like, and you just want to like now and then I just want to like walk to some people and smack them and be like, do you realize like I walked 5 miles, back so it's a half a mile walk from the road to my house. So going from my car to my house back to my car, that's 1 mile of walking over rough terrain through the woods.
Do you think the
Okay,
FBI and
and I
CIA?
did that 5 times, hauling water so that I can drink it,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
can take a
When
bath.
I can just go out and
You're complaining about your stupid thing right now. Now understand, like I'm not complaining about. I'm doing this by choice, right?
right.
I'm living this way by choice. It's not a complaint, but it's like look at the stupid things that we have that we can complain about and
Oh
argue
my
about and
gosh.
fight about. However, but then you look at it's like what I go back to with things like our food and stuff. The things that we're not arguing about that we should
Are
be.
way more important.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a
right.
really good point.
And so and if you want to get into the some of the tinfoil hat stuff, it's oh well they want you to fight over that stuff so that you don't you know
Oh,
whether that
distractions
I
are
don't, I don't
totally real. Oh my gosh. Like CNN, they're always talking about Trump, and it's like, hey, there's 7.5 billion people in the world. Can we not talk about the one person we all know about already? Like for one day? Like you have to report on him
right
every
oh
day,
yeah
all
yeah
day? Like I have not
oh
watched
yeah
CNN one day without them talking about Trump. Can you go one day without talking about him, please? There's other
oh yeah
stuff going on.
oh yeah absolutely and it's um there's a there's a quote I don't remember honestly don't remember maybe I don't know if it's a quote or a concept or whatever but it's something I heard quite a long time ago and it does make sense okay It goes something like this: bad times create strong men. Okay, strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create bad times. It's a circle. So like we think we have like let's say World War II. We had bad times that created the greatest generation, right? Who then created good times following that, which then created weak men, which would be like the boomers, right? Which created bad times, right? Which in turn created hopefully what's going to be soon strong men again. Like, does that make sense? So there's that sort of cycle, right, where you kind of good times when things are good, we kind of
Right.
go into this
Oh my
complacency,
gosh.
right?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it, it it really is a
so you
cycle.
gotta make
If you
things
can
for
follow that
yourself
cycle
to
through
get
history.
excited about, really, is what you have to do. Like, do something you've never tried before and then pick up a new hobby, you know?
Well, it's the thing. So I come out here, I buy 50 acres up in freaking Maine, and I put a camper on it, and then it's like, okay, what now? Well, you know, I'm I'm fairly handy. There's a lot I do know how to do, but do you know how much of this I don't know how to do? You know, that I learn as I go along, and so it's
Well, yeah.
that's
What'd you do? Just like
that's
YouTube
another
stuff,
thing with.
like how to.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's another thing with education. I don't want to get don't let me get the whole thing derailed on my thoughts of like public education and colleges and how those are being. But
It's
but
all
in this
horrible,
day
yeah.
and age, the day of Google and YouTube, if you can't figure out how to do something, you are choosing to be stupid.
Exactly.
If you can't learn something, you're choosing to be stupid.
Yeah, because there's really no reason because everyone has a cell phone, and with that cell phone, you can find out almost anything, you know?
Oh, you basically have the entire catalog of all human knowledge gathered to this point in your pocket.
Except for whatever was in the Library of Alexandria, of course.
We missed a couple things like
You ever
what
wonder about
what
what's in
what the
there?
pyramids were for. But
Do you think they knew about,
it's
they
one
had
of those
like
things.
records of
So
Atlantis
so
in there?
go yeah go do something and don't worry about like so building this house. I have people all the time. You know, oh my goodness. You know, are you work in construction? How did you do that? How did you know how to do that? You know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
um, well, I mean, I am kind of handy, and
Well, it's something you
I got
like
a kind of a
doing,
great
right?
help, but like go to the internet, go on freaking YouTube. You know, it's like, do you know how much work I've done on my car? How much money I've saved doing work on my
Oh,
car
oh,
that
you
I
can
didn't know how to
save
do?
so much
Because
money by
you
working
know,
on your own car. It's
oh yeah,
ridiculous.
oh yeah, I replaced the heater core in my Jeep this last year. Basically sitting there with like a wrench in one hand and cell phone with YouTube in the other, while it showed me how to completely rip the entire dash out of the thing to get to
I think I need to
it.
replace my engine on my Trailblazer, but I don't think you can
Oh,
look up YouTube,
good
man.
luck, have fun.
Well, it's not. I don't know if it's the engine. There's a knocking noise in it. I bought
Ugh.
this Trailblazer for $600, and it runs. So I was like, you know what? No matter what, it's a good deal, you know. But
Oh
now
yeah,
it's got
well,
the yeah, it's got this knocking noise, and so I don't know what it is, but it's not one of those things that I think I can take care of. I think I
yeah,
probably need to take it to
yeah.
a.
There's something. Yeah. There's some things you just have to have the like tools for too, right? Not even the
Yeah,
knowledge,
that's
but
the other thing is the tools. But like
it's one of the,
yeah. I was driving my brother's Trans Am earlier. Remember when I sent you that text? It's because he was asking me how that Trans Am was running. He's
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's a pretty fun car to drive though.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
You like cars at
It
all?
kind of reminds. What's that?
You like cars at all?
What was that?
You are you into cars at all?
Uh, yes and no. So I used to be. Not as much anymore. Priorities shift. Things change. Interests change with it. Um, but I mean, I had a I had a 1985 Mark II Supra, Toyota Supra. Um, that was pretty fun. I think that's probably one of my
Yeah, dude,
fastest,
that
most
sounds
fun
like a fun
cars.
car to drive around.
Oh yeah, it was the last two of the Celica. Um, the Supra was a submodel of the Celica that year, but well, that reminds me. You talk about picking up like a $600 car. So one of the big things here that has allowed us to do what we're doing is no debt. Um,
Right.
we no car payments. Got rid of all the cars with payments, with credit cards. Um, we bought the land. We built the house on it. No mortgage. Um, that's something I tell you what. When you get to that point, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do to follow those dreams if you can quit having to owe everything to everybody. You
So
know that
what's something you say you live your life by to try to like, do better? Is it, you know? Like you obviously have been, you're doing all these these good things to like sustain the earth, like, you know, giving back, like is it what's driving you to do those things, would you say, to like be
well,
a better person?
so part of it is it's this desire to do what's best for my own family first, right? Um, as far as like feeding them good food and good, healthy lifestyle and stuff like that. Part of it's just my own interest of liking the home the just I like growing things, right? I like growing plants. I love raising animals. I just it is the coolest thing. Like I said, I got two big brooders just full of baby ducklings, and it's like I love that stuff. At the same time, though, too, I'm the kind of person that's also able to, in X amount of weeks, take some of those ducklings and slaughter them and butcher them. Some people are too much of an animal lover; they can't do that. But I digress. A lot of what drives me and guides me um, is, I guess you could boil it down to the non-aggression principle. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
With what?
The
Sorry.
non-aggression principle.
Oh, no, I've never heard of that.
If you know like people that are like libertarians and stuff, a lot of them are quite versed in it's just kind of a libertarian, anarcho-libertarian concept.
Oh,
But
I would kind of say I'm a libertarian. I mean, not like I don't like to classify myself as anything ever, because then you just get lumped in with everything that you maybe you don't know
right,
about.
and right, I don't necessarily say I'm a libertarian. I'm definitely leaning that way. If you were to say like, what are you like?
I couldn't say
Well, what
anything, but
best?
libertarian, I feel like there's no reason anyone should be able to tell me what to do, and I shouldn't be able to tell anyone what to do, as long as they're not physically hurting someone or like directly hurting someone by their actions. Like then everyone should be able to do what they want. That's how I feel.
That's basically the non-aggression, right?
Yeah,
And it's not a pacifist. A lot of people mistake it for pacifism. I'm not a pacifist. I am
yeah,
completely capable and willing to mete out violence should it be necessary.
right. If you're gonna
Um,
fight
you know,
someone, shouldn't
and,
it be
and,
over
and
something
trust
that's
me, don't
very
test,
important?
right? And trust me, don't test me on that, right? Like you threaten my family, you can find out. You know, I'm a nice guy, but you can find out just how violent I can be, right? It's one of those type of things.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, right? It's don't aggress upon anybody else, right? Like nothing I do should be in any way affecting the rights of anybody else to do whatever they want. as as long as what they're doing is also not affecting mine or someone else's right to do, right? And that's where a lot of people have a hard time, right? Because they want to be able to tell people they still want to be able to have control over somebody in that one little thing that they think is important, right? But if we're gonna have liberty, it's got to be liberty. Um, you know, the Constitution, the preamble, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and are endowed by their creator, which is God, not the government, with certain inalienable rights, which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, that you have the right to pursue happiness. However, if you don't make it, that's your problem, not mine.
Right. We don't have to guarantee happiness for everyone.
Right, but at the same time, I can't say that a
Hey,
lot
Brian,
of people
can you do me a
want to
favor?
say, oh, yeah,
Can you ramble for about 2 minutes? I have to go check on something real quick.
okay,
Yeah, keep going about what you were saying.
all right, man. Um, yeah, it's one of those things where you know we we always many of us want to say, well, hey, you don't get to tell me what to do. I don't want you to tell me what to do. But we've all still got these like pet things where we want to tell other people what to do. We want to be able to impose that will on them. Um, and what's even worse than people wanting to impose their will on somebody else is the fact that most people don't have the guts to do it. What do? They get the government to do it. They spend you know most of the people that would vote to I don't know make up whatever rule, whatever law, right? Would never come up to your face and actually enforce it.
I'm back.
But you know, yeah, some excuse me, people that want some law X, Y, or Z passed, um, many times wouldn't ever uh, be willing to actually go up to your house or to your face and enforce that. And I think when we're talking about voting for a law or even any politician, whatever, that's talking about getting a law or regulation or something passed, I think when you vote, say it's a referendum or something like that, or you want to sign on to some sort of position to enact a law, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to put a gun in someone's face and be willing to shoot them to force them to do whatever that thing is? Because that's exactly what you're doing once you give the government the permission or the ability to enforce that law. At the end of it, there's a policeman, a law enforcement officer, somebody with a gun enforcing that law.
Right, because if it comes down to that, it will come to a gun in the face, you know? If you sign that bill, it could come down to someone being physically forced to do that. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I never really thought about it like that.
Oh yeah,
That
people talk about oh they should do this law, they should do that, or they should make it illegal to do this or illegal to do that. And I think if everybody stopped and thought, honestly, truly asked themselves, would you point a gun at somebody and pull the trigger to ensure that they followed that law, that law was followed? If the answer is no, then that law shouldn't happen.
what about littering? Would you shoot somebody for that? I guess you would if they were littering a lot. If they were like, fuck the ocean. You'd have to be like, all right, man, you're killing the animals.
Right, right. Um,
I guess that
Yeah, I
makes
mean,
sense. That makes sense. Like, it's easy to say something like that. Yeah, I think there's too many laws. There's definitely too many laws, and the justice system is messed up. Like, I don't have any faith in
oh
it
yeah.
at all.
Well, here's the thing. So the American justice system is messed up. However, it's better than everywhere else, right? And that's not an excuse not to fix it. But we do have to. It's just like the whole thing with the U.S. Right? People talk about, oh yeah, the United States has its problems. However, it still is objectively the greatest country that has ever been on this earth for the
Well,
problems that we have.
well, what about like, okay, I heard something. They say in America you can go from nothing to being something. Anyone can move up. But
Mm-hmm.
I heard that they made this list. I was listening to NPR. Is where I heard it. But they made a list of like countries where it's possible to do that, and like America's like number 30 as far as like the easiest to go from like poverty level to rich. Like there's like 29 other countries that are it's easier to do that than here.
Right.
So
Okay.
I
Now,
don't know. So there's
oh,
like and then like
I
also
haven't seen that. I haven't seen that list, but the ease of it. See, here's the problem with a lot of these lists, and a lot of them are one dimensional, right? Um, because you have to look at exactly what they're measuring and why those numbers come out the way they come out. Um, and yeah, we might say that we're number 30 on easiest to go from bottom to top, and that may be one of the issues that the country has. I don't see as how we're number 30 in that, but I'm not an economist. But there's other metrics and measures, right? So the greatest and most unique freedom that Americans have over everyone else is freedom of speech. Okay, nobody else, no other country in the world has absolute freedom of speech like the United States has, and it is one of the most fundamental rights that makes America great.
can you give me some
That
examples
no
like
other
in
country.
England, Canada that they can't say whatever they want?
No, they can't. They have hate speech laws. There's people been in prison for making jokes. I
Oh
can't remember
yeah.
his name. Just right now, there's a comedian in Canada who's up against a human rights tribunal because he told an off-color joke.
Oh my gosh. I actually got in some Facebook trouble and with some people, and I actually had to talk to my boss and explain to him that I had the right to say whatever I wanted on Facebook. And I said, like, even if I don't believe it, I feel like I have to leave it up just to prove that we still have the right to say whatever we want. You can't force someone to say anything. And the fact that I'm
Well,
having to
yeah, I mean,
talk to my boss about this is messed up. I just talked to
right.
my
I mean,
boss
no,
about
no,
a
no.
post I made. Oh my gosh.
If whatever you said was regarding something with work or something like that, yeah, sure,
Oh
I could
yeah,
I
but
could
it
see.
wasn't. Nothing about work.
Right,
It happened
right.
to involve
But
a
but but but
yeah.
but here's the thing too, right? And this is where a lot of people get confused. There's a big difference between your legal right to do something and when you start talking about the interaction between a private company or private individual, right? So you, you have freedom of speech, meaning you cannot be criminally prosecuted for something that you said. You can't be put in jail or fined or in prison for something you say. But your employer has every right to fire you
Well,
for what you
yeah, in
say.
some states they can fire you for any reason.
Right, but you, you know um, there's a difference between your legal right and whatever, right?
Yeah,
So
some
it's like
places they want to look at your social media to see if they should hire you, and that's like messed up. What does it
yeah,
matter
and
like how you act as long as you act the correct way for
I've had
work,
some
you know?
companies that have my social media, and I'm like, no.
Yeah. Like for real, what does it matter? As long as I show up to work, I do my job, Like, what does it matter how I act? You know, like this.
right.
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh.
unless whatever that, you know,
Yeah, unless
our
I'm
intentions were whatever
involving
that
work, unless
your
it's
that
causing you business or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, you know, if your position entails something with, you know, that involves your personal image, right?
Right. Right. Like when
You know,
I went to work to they sent me to Indiana, and while I was out there, like we would go out dressed up, and they'd be like, okay, now even when you're off, like you're kind of representing our company because we're just moving to town and everyone knows that you guys work for us, so you need to be on. So I'm like, yeah, I get that, but if I'm
right.
at my house,
Yeah, you know, well, here's you know, and here's the thing, like, there's a big move, you know, big movement I've seen from from certain uh, sectors of the country, society, or whatever, to try to silence things like this, like what they call hate speech. Here's the thing: who gets to determine what the hate speech is? Right? As soon as you give somebody, anybody, the power to determine that one form of speech or another should be illegal, you know, that's just nothing but problems, right? Like, um, I hate white supremacists, but I think that white supremacists should be able to be white supremacists, you know, white supremacists say whatever they want to say, right? I don't think they should be thrown in jail because all it takes is someone else to decide that something I said, you know, they should be able to say whatever they say. Now, you know, as far as a government thing, they shouldn't be put in jail for it. However, if you're a white supremacist and you run around saying all kinds of horrible, nasty white supremacist things, um, then people have the right to not associate with you or not do business with you. You know, if you own a business, you're a business owner, and you decide to say a bunch of horrible, mean, nasty white supremacist things, people can decide that they're no longer going to give you your business.
yeah, yeah, I think that's how it should work. Like that system seems to work out on its own. Like you don't need to get the government involved. People can handle it themselves, you know, to extent, you know.
And that's when that's the free market. You know, unfortunately, now we have what seems to be a growing sector of the country, mostly young people that don't. It's the people that didn't live through a certain period in history that are now leaning towards socialism. You know, um, I don't think they understand what socialism is. I think if they did, they wouldn't be on that train.
Definitely, it's crazy. All right, man. Well, I think we should probably wrap it up here. Talk about an
Yeah, that's what I
hour.
was thinking. Going so, yeah. I mean,
You
I had a good
wanna?
time. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me on. I hope yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
I know
What's
this was
your
gonna be
You wanna plug your YouTube channel at all? What's your YouTube channel
yeah,
called?
So well, I got YouTube on Facebook, YouTube and Facebook. Uh, you can check out. It's called Drooling Moose Hideaway. Um, if you put in Drooling Moose Hideaway into YouTube or Facebook, you'll.
You still there?
I think we're on. Yeah. I
You
mean,
you cut
we have
out
a
for the
Twitter account
last 10 seconds, so repeat what you just said.
too. Okay. So yeah, you can find us YouTube or Facebook. We've got a Twitter, but I don't think we're ever on it. To be honest, I have never been able to figure out Twitter. I don't know what it is. Everybody seems to use it and do just fine. I can't figure it out. It's not that I can't
Oh
figure it out. I
yeah,
just don't like
I don't get
like.
it. I don't get it either.
Yeah, yeah. So Facebook or YouTube at Drooling Moose Hideaway. Type that into Facebook or YouTube, you'll find us.
Drooling Moose Hideaway. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. Good luck with the homestead. You know, don't
Oh
let the
yeah,
man get
will
you
be.
down.
That's uh,
Yeah.
there's a there's a book out that unfortunately they stole. If I ever wrote a book, I would have to steal this title. But there's a book out. One of my favorite books. The title of the book is "Everything I Want to Do Is Illegal," and that's kind of how it is up
Oh my
here.
gosh.
you know. Well, all right. Well, thanks for having me on. It's been fun, man.
All right, man. Take it easy. We'll see you around. We'll have to do it again sometime, man, for sure.
All right, anytime you call.
All right, man. Bye. All right, guys. You made it. We did it. Episode 1 in the bank. Thanks for sticking by me even though I know the audio quality is not the greatest. I'm working on it. I'm going to get it better. Hopefully when I get some people in the studio, that'll be nice. I got everything set up for that. But I can use some help. So if you guys want to head on over to Facebook, there's a link in there to donate. You can sign up for a subscription as low as $1 a month. That'll help, or a one-time donation is awesome too. So I appreciate it. Like us on Facebook, share us, like us on YouTube, and thank you, motherfuckers. This is a good talk. It just shows you need to do what you love. If you want to do a homestead, go do it. If you love dogs, you should go have sex with a dog. If you love ducks, you should go fuck a duck. If you love my mother, I will stab you. I'm kidding, guys. But I seriously will. Thank you, and thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoy it. Bye.